Welcome guys to the Pulley Rig demonstration. So what I'm going to do today is demonstrate how I put together the Pulley Rig and the components I use and the reason I use the components, and basically show you, a lot of you newcomers to the sea angling in the last 12 months, seen a lot of people coming back into the sport, and how it's changed from when they were younger and fishing as kids to how it is now. And the Pulley Rig is going to be one of your number one rigs really for... I use it probably 50 or 60% of my fishing. It really is a cracking rig. It's easy to put together, quick to put together, and it does the jobs what I need it to do. One of the joys about the Pulley Rig is it helps, once the fish is hooked, to maintain keeping your lead up off the seabed, away from any obstacles what you could get stuck up in when you're trying to bring it to shore. So there's a couple of different components I use for it. Starting with the trace and rig bodies. Now, a lot of people use different rig bodies and different trace lines and poundage and stuff like that, depending on what they're targeting. Now, I'm going to be targeting rays with these rigs. You'll get bass on them, you get all different kind of things. It's one of the joys of ray fishing. But at the same time, if I was going to target cod, I'd use one of these. I'd probably use maybe the same poundage rig body, but I would change and downsize the trace line and go for slightly a smaller and thinner diameter and strength, just for the simple fact I'm probably using worm baits and stuff like that, and I want a bit more movement with it. What I'm doing today, I'm trying to keep the bait tight to the floor where the rays will come up over and pick them up, and at the same time they've got very abrasive mouths, where if I'm using a 30-pound trace line, I remember years ago a friend of mine, we went fishing, and he was using his rigs and stuff like that, and he had a ray on, smaller ray. I took him off the rocks. He had rays and that off the beach, never off the rocks before, and he's bringing it, he hit into this fish, big double-figured small eye coming across the surface on the rock mark we were on, and suddenly the fish just went off, and he brought it back in, and his line had snapped. And I was like, what line you got on there? He said, £30. I said, you can't, you need £80. I said, and he's like, well, I'll catch a £30 fish, it's £30 in strength. But I was like explaining to him, just because it was £30 in strength didn't mean it's going to catch a £30 fish. If you hit the fish cleanly on its mouth, you'd have probably got away with it. But because it was inside its mouth, obviously the roughness of the inside of the ray's mouth was tearing against the trace, and unfortunately lost it. That's why, depending where I'm fishing and what I'm fishing for, if I'm fishing for blondes, sometimes I use a £100 trace line. You know what I mean? It depends what I'm doing and stuff like that. Rays, normally I tend to go for 60, 80 if I'm going off of rocks, get away with 60, maybe 40, depending where you're fishing really, but I wouldn't go any lower than £40, no way at all. I know lads will use £40 up on the Chesil and stuff, and 60 and stuff, where I've always used 80 no matter where I've gone. I just like to use 80. You never know what you're going to catch, and if you got that monster and lost it, you'd have nightmares for the rest of your life. So that's the reason why. So basically what I've got here, I've got some ASSO 80 pounds, which I like to use for my trace lines, okay, and then I've got some Rovex 10 times extra heavy duty, which is a bit more darker in colour, which I like, and a bit more springy. What I like to use for my rig body, okay. So I'm going to put that one down there like that. I've got one already set up here now. So what I've got is 4-foot bit of the Rovex 10 times. And then I've got a breakaway imp attached to the bottom. Then I've got just a normal impact breakaway 5-ounce lead. Okay, so I've got that set up like that. I'll show you the knot in a minute, what I've got this connected to. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to put the rig down here. Now this rig will be this will be the basis of all the rigs I go through in this series. Basically, I'm going to do 3. I'm going to run up and over the Pulley Rig and the Pulley drop down rig. So obviously this is the first one, the Pulley Rig. So all you need to do is take that and put that down the bottom, okay? What I'm going to do now is connect a rubber bead, okay? These are Rovex rubber beads, and as I said, guys, this is the components I use. This isn't a sponsorship demonstration. This isn't me trying to market or sell stuff. This is exactly what I use with all my fishing. I'm a big fan of some of the Cox and Rule stuff, and I'm a big fan of some of the breakaway stuff, and I'm a big fan of some of the Gemini stuff, and I tend to use what I think works out of the series, you know what I mean? And And even the Rovex, these rubber beads are absolutely fantastic. The reason I use them is because it helps cushion the knots. It helps protect the knots. And sometimes when you're fishing, depending on what you never know what you're going to pick up. Imagine you're not giving in just for the simple fact it was rubbing against like a solid bead. You know, it's just risk, and I'm not one to take risks when it comes to fishing. You know what I mean? You want to, especially when it comes to your tackle component. So there you go. That one on the end of that. Then what I've got there now is a proper pulley clip from Breakaway. These are fantastic. They really are, guys. Some people use swivels, some people use different things. I love these, and I really do. I'm a big fan of the proper pulleys, and I've got the clips what come with them. Now, I'll tell you a little story. Up to about 2 years ago, I've always thrown them away, and I mean I have. Every time I've got them, I never had no use for them. And mate of mine, Rob York, was like, "Why'd you chuck them away for?" He seen me do it. I got a load of gear down from Southwest Sea Baits in Plymouth, and I went and I was like basically about to chuck them in his bin when we were making some rigs up in his garage, and he said, "I use them for my lead lifts." I said, "What do you mean?" I said, "Look," and he showed me, and that's what one of the things it goes to show you are forever learning. It's a cracking little idea. So where you got your lead lift like that, you basically use the proper pulley clips, what you get with them, in there, and it's perfect. And I mean absolutely perfect. Some people you got muck around with turning your swivel back. If you want to put a swivel on that, you can put the swivel onto that clip then, and it's just perfect. Now the impact, the lead lifts, I don't use everywhere. If I go up to the reefs, on certain reefs, I know I can get away with this because obviously the distance I'm hitting and where I'm hitting, I know the ground I'm hitting over, and I know I'll get them back. Where some of the other places, you've got no choice but to use rotten bottoms. But handy little tip, nice little tip to pick up, really. You know what I mean? If you've got them, I'm not a big fan of them. I'd rather use a single lead clips with the proper pulleys or go over it. It just looks nice, and it keeps everything in line. And yeah, that's the way I like to do it anyway. But that's a nice little tip there, guys. So then what I've got then is a proper pulley. So I'll put the proper pulley down like so. I'll get another Rovex rubber bead. Put the other Rovex rubber bead down through there like that. And then what I will do then is I'll get one of these 220-pound Cox and Raw stainless steel swivels, and I go on the end. And then what I'll do is put my finger in between like that. It's easy. Okay, and then you go around once, twice, 3 times a lady, 4 times, 5 times if you want to, down through the hole you just created, and then back up through that hole. Okay, like so. Sliver and pull tight. Really give it some, guys. Really give it some. These are where these little gadgets come in for little pullers. Get them on the tackle, and you can really ain't going nowhere. Rather do that at home and find out if it breaks or not than when you're on the beach or fishing. You know what I mean? So clip it back slightly, not all the way tight to what you've just done on the knot. Just give it a little bit of a tag end, and that is the rig body. Okay. Now I'll make loads of these up when I'm going to make loads up and store them. We'll go through that, what I do with that in a different rig. But that there is basically the rig body. You could do loads of these and then put them to the side, and then get your go on to the next step and then go through it all. And that's what I normally do. I'll get loads of these. I'll make 10 of them up, then I'll get one of them and then I'll do the next step. So that is your pulley rig. So that is the main rig body of the pulley rig. So next step is the trace line. Now, what I do with the trace line, I've got the ASSO 80-pound there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that and I'm going to tie that with the same knot. So I'm going to basically go through, finger in between the knot, go around once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, 5 times if you want to, back down through the hole, and then there'll be a loop what you've just created. Bring that tag end back up through that. I'll do a knot little video sometime. Put it tight. That's it. Lovely jubbly. Hands in. It's not going nowhere, guys. Not going to go nowhere. Absolutely lovely. Right, there you go. So that's set. Okay, this is one of the most important parts of it. I see anglers, even not newbie anglers who have been fishing many years and stuff like that when on the beach and stuff, and you see them go to cast and their baits are all flapping around. Okay, one of the most important things in fishing is bait presentation. Okay, it really is bait presentation, because if you need to make sure your bait is presented on the sea bottom correctly. You don't want it tangled around your rig body and stuff like that. So it's always important to clip down your rigs. Now, if you're cutting that there and it's flapping around like that, and as you cast out, it could tangle around, it could do anything, you know what I mean? The whole point of having the imp on the bottom is to clip the hook down to it. So what I do is I pull it down a little bit so it's just pulled down away from the bead, so I've got tension on it. I come down to the bottom of the imp where the hook point goes through, okay, and then I'll mark that with my thumb and my finger. Then what I'll do is I'll replace that over, so I've taken that measurement from there and cut it off with my scissors. That is setting where I need to be. Now, the next step is hooks, okay? I've got to attach a hook to that now. If I put my hook onto that and just tie the knot in and pull it down, it'd be longer, it could work with what I've just set. So I've got to take that into account. So what we'll go through now is probably the most important thing in fishing. Hooks. It really is. This, without these little things here, you are not going to do much catching, okay? And I'm a big fan of the Cox and Rule range with hooks, and the reason being is simple. The reason being is quality, okay? I've always been a fan of Cox and Rule hooks. I'm not saying that ever hook manufacturers, there's a lot of different good hook manufacturers available on the market. But what I find with Cox and Rule, and what I found with Cox and Rule, especially over the last 7 to 8 years, it's been took over now by a guy called Mark Hamlet. And Mark is all about improving and making things right and making things better and making sure once a product's there, it's something that works. And I remember working with him. A lot of you remember these. Know these as a J hook. There's different names of them from different companies and different brands, okay? And a lot of us have used these J hooks for a long time. I've used them since I started fishing. And even if you're getting an extra, so that you get a standard hook J hook, then you get the extra J hooks, and the extra J hooks are basically reinforced and like a lot stronger hook. I've had these from different manufacturers in the past, and I've straightened them out. I know Luke Johns was fishing up the Minehead Way, and he had it straightened out by a blonde ray with one of the, not from the Cox and Rule range, from a different brand. I've had them snap over the years from different brands, all right? And we were having a chat, Mark, and Mark said to me, "How can we improve this hook?" And I was sitting there and looking, and he sent me the first lot, and I said, still not 100%. And he said, "Leave that with me." He said, "What do you think?" And I said, "Oh, you want to see a lot stronger hook in that. I'm not a hook maker." Obviously, Mark knows what he's doing. About 3 weeks later, he gave me a text and said, "Try these out. They're coming through the post tomorrow." So he sent me these hooks come through, and they were what are now known as a Specimen Extra. Okay, and I had a few, probably about 20 hooks, and I took them with me when I was fishing. And I met a couple of North Devon lads that I know up on a beach in Somerset, and I showed them. I said, "What's that?" And he said, "That's a suction hook." I said, "Is it?" I said, "Get one out of your tackle box." He got him his tackle box. He's like, "No way, it's not, is it? What's that? What is it?" So I told him and said what they'd done, and you've got a lot stronger quality hook for your money there, 100%. If you get one of the standard, I will put the test to all of you, okay? Get your normal J hook, then you get a Specimen Extra, right? And then basically, even get one of your little gadget there and try and pull that out. You can try and do it with your thumb, right? A lot of the other brands, you will pull and you'll see it move. You won't move that. By a little bit more thickness on the diameter and the shaft of the hook, you have got an absolutely quality hook there. It's still light and it's still perfect, and it does exactly what I needed to do. And that's the reason I use Cox and Rule. I've got uptied hooks, which I use for that. There to me is one of the strongest hooks available in the market. It's absolutely fantastic hook. Now, like I said before, guys, if I'm targeting blonde rays, right, I won't be using the hooks I'm about to put on this rig. Okay, I would go more so for the 6.0, 7.0 uptied extra, and the 6.0 octopus hook. Now, that 6.0 octopus hook, I've had 27-pound blonde, 27-pound 2-ounce blonde ray on, took that straight down, and that was cushioned on the knot. Well, I'll show you how to do that in a minute. And it was on that rig, the top hook, and the turbot also was on that hook as well. So in the 4.0 version. So because I'm doing this rig as like a 4-foot rig, specifically targeting spotters and small lines, I'm going to use the hooks I use for that. So I'm going to put the Untitled and Extra and the 7.0 and 6.0 to the side a minute, and I'm going to use the hooks I'm going to put. So basically what I'm going to use now is a 4.0 octopus hook. The reason I'm using the 4.0 octopus hook and the 6.0 Specimen Extra is the bait I'm going to be using. Now if I put the other two are quite heavy hooks, and I'm going to be using specifically sand eel baits when I'm targeting spotted and small lines, and light baits want a bit of movement and stuff like that, and especially spotted, you don't need massive hooks to catch big. So I'm targeting specimen spotted, but a specimen spotted will take that 6.0 Specimen Extra and that 4.0 down without a problem. I've had them take bigger hooks when I've been targeting blondes. They will take them, but that would be the hooks I would go for. So I'm basically going to put the octopus hook down. I'm going to put the line down for it as so. Okay, so that's down on the trace line now. I'm going to get one of these beads. Now everybody's going to be saying, Webby, why are you putting a bead down there? The reason is simple, okay? It helps protect and cushion the knot, okay? So I'll go through that bit in a minute, but I'm going to connect this hook now. So when I'm setting this hook, I'm going to put the line down through, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the same again. I'm going to go down through as so. All right. When I'm doing it this time, and I've gone down through, I'm going to bring that bit of trace line down over onto the bottom of the hook where I know it's set. I'm going to put slaver on it now, and I've pulled that hook down, so all I've got to do is turn it round, and I'm going to go back up through, okay, like that. Then I'm going to pull. Okay, that's perfect. That ain't going nowhere, guys, nowhere. Get my hook puller on that. As I said, test the knots all the time. Yeah, it's lovely, lovely. Right, when I cut this, I'm going to leave it about 3 or 4 mil away from the top of the knot, as so. Right, and that's that. That's my trace line done. That's ready to go. Now, people are going to say, Andy, why have you put a bead in there? Simple. When you put in your pennel hook, sometimes a lot of people don't use the turned over eyes like the octopus. They'll use a jinny or whatever else, and it's all locked in by the trace line. Okay, when a fish pulls that down, that trace line will come around like that, okay, and then 9 times out of 10 you'll be left like that, okay. So if I pull that forward now, and you can see, right, that bead, that rubber bead is cushioning that knot. And not necessarily if you're catching your everyday type fish, but if you're fishing and you catch that fish of a lifetime, like a 27-pound blonde or a big turbot, or I don't know, a big anything, smooth out, anything you catch on that rig, bullets, whatever you're going to catch on that rig, right, you want to make sure that that bottom knot's cushioned, because if that comes off and was damaged and comes off within fight, that hook's just going to slide clearly off. It's just a nice little small rubber bead, helps cushion the knot as so, and you can see it there now. And with that top hook, as you can see now, if that was put the other way round and the thing, it wouldn't sit like that. That's perfect. That's exactly how I want it. So when I put my sand eel on, I can go around the top, come around a couple of times, and fix them right into the eel. As so, we'll do a bait little demonstration series this year. We'll do one on knots as well. Just obviously try and help a few guys out, and that's it. So I know that now. I can clip that straight down there like so, and that is the pulley rig. That's my version of what I like to put together and do as for the pulley rig. Now a lot of people will say to me, just because I'm doing a rig like that, it's not necessarily going to catch fish. It's a lot to do with casting and that. Casting is a skill and a tool, if you like. Just because someone can cast far doesn't necessarily make them a good angler. I know, you know what I mean? Adam, a friend of mine, he cast a very long way. My best cast on field is 250 yards, which is very poor. It's not a bad cast, but it's not a brilliant cast compared to some of what the guys do in that world. A lot of guys are hitting over 300 yards and stuff. That's a very, very long way. Something I'll never do in my life. I wouldn't put the top. I love my angling too much to be able to put. It's a different type of sport, and I wouldn't be able to put as much time into it as I would want to be able to obviously just step up, and it would take years and years of practice. But Adam has done that, and you can see when he's out fishing, he doesn't necessarily use his ability to cast at every fishing mark. Most of the time, he do a layback cast and just and put it out there. Unless he's on places where there's not many people around and he can really whack it, or venues where we know where we've got a hit distance, he will then put a lead to the horizon. But what I'm trying to say is this: just because someone can cast far doesn't necessarily make him a good angler, and just because someone's a good angler don't mean they necessarily can cast far. You know what I mean? I know a lot of anglers what can't cast very far at all. You know what I mean? There's a lot of North Devon lads what I know what can't hit a lead to the horizon. You're talking like 70 or 80 yards, and some of the fish they've had has been phenomenal. It's not necessarily on North Devon coast, a lot of deep water, very close in and stuff like that. There's no reason you need to learn to cast. You know what I mean? You just overhead front, you're into where the fish are. Where down on some of the marks what we fish, distance can be the key depending where you are. But what I'm trying to get at, it's more important for me to have a bait presented to a fish correctly in that manner than it would be to cast 100 yards. A lot of the casters, you've got a couple. There's a few good casters and anglers, but there's also a lot of casters what can't cast fish. You know what I mean? It's a totally different game. Presenting a bait correctly, to me, is what I'm trying to get at here. Is more important and put across to you guys. Is more important than hitting a lead 150 yards and fishing 150 yards. It's more important to present your bait correctly. So a lot of people starting out worry about, and they like getting, I need a hit, and they're trying so hard to hit better distance. It will come. It's a different, you know what I mean? I would go away, I would look at getting in contact with one of your local casting places like Westwood Casting, Dorchester, Stam Truin at Dorchester. I think Mike Benfield from down at Westwood Casting. You've got Sam Truin at Dorchester. You've got I'm not sure who does surf cast wells, but one of the lads I know I met down at Westwood, Andrew Sheeran, fantastic caster, and I'm sure if you got hold of him, he would be able to put you in the right direction with where to go in South Wales, surf cast wells and stuff. I haven't actually been up that way casting on there. So I've met a few of the lads when they've come down to like Westwood and that and Dorchester, but a lot of them very friendly lads who are willing to help you out, and I know a lot of guys have gone down to these events and they've walked away and gained a lot of knowledge what fishing, and that's what I've done. It was about helping me learn to get. It's a tool, guys, at the end of the day. But the thing I was trying to put across with it is simple. It's more important to keep your bait well presented and fish at 50 yards, while fishing the wrong way and fishing at 100. You know what I mean? And it is. And for anybody who's looking at obviously trying to get in casting, that's what I would do, guys, is to go and seek professional help. Don't look at video. We could do some casting videos and stuff like that later on in the next year or so. Try and get some videos put on there for casting, and that help people. But the best way to do it is to attend, go along to some of these events. The way I look at it is this: it's not competition. It's a competition down there for the likes of the lads what are doing it every week in, week out. But if you go down with your mate, you're trying to beat your mate, and you know what I mean? And I remember when me and Stu Norris were going down there, we had a good little laugh that day. I think his best cast was like 240. And he had it first on, and then after that he couldn't get near it, and he was like struggling to get 230s and that, and that's just the way it goes sometimes. And he never recorded his 240. He'll remember this, he'll be laughing watching this video. And at the end of the day he got a 230 badge, and I got was it 220 or 230, and I got a 240 badge, and we both stood there like that. It was 230 actually, and it was 230 his best cast I was that day, and after they recorded, they give him a 220 badge, and I got a 230 badge all the way home like that. It was just a bit of fun, really, laughing. We had a good day, but his first cast was recorded. He would have got his badge if you recorded it, unfortunately. But it was a laugh. But that's what I'm trying to say. We had a laugh together. Adam was miles ahead of us, didn't even pay no attention to Adam. You know what I mean? He's up there somewhere, and the rest of the lads. But all we were concerned about was about beating each other. And that's what you do. It's all about going down and learning, have a bit of a better banter and stuff like that, and it goes a long way. But guys, that is the Pulley Rig, and get some components. As I said, you can use different hooks, you can use different trace lines, you can do what you want with it, really. That's what I use, and the reasons I use the components, as I said, is quality. That's one thing I will put across: quality in tackle components. Having faith and confidence in what you're using is a big thing. There's no point using bits and pieces, thinking I'll try that, and then losing a fish to it and thinking, no, why did I do that? I've done it. I've made the mistakes. I've gone through different things over the years, and just because I'm not a big fan of these bright coloured like tackle components and stuff like that with like rig release systems and bait clips and stuff like that. Everything you use there is all clear and natural, and you've got a little bit of black and bits and pieces like that will look natural to the seabed. You start putting like rainbows rigs and stuff like that on the seabed, to me it don't work. And it's something that you can tell. You're sitting next to someone, I can tell whether the way they're tying the rigs. You can tell the angler, because to me that is one of the most important things in fishing, is having your rigs done correctly. And that's my way. There's a lot of different ways of doing things. Some people use like darker rig bodies and that, but that's the way I like to do it. So, ladies and gents, that is a pulley rig. Go try it at home. Don't forget to give it a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, and come and say hello on the Facebook page. Till the next time.